welcome everybody. Happy first week of February. I hope you are healthy and safe and moving forward into this new year of 2021. I'm Shannon Dellum. I am one of your instructors with Health Aware at Community Memorial Health Systems. If you are watching me live, that's fantastic. You could leave a couple of comments here. I may see them, I may not. If you're catching this a little later, these are recorded and you can, on your own time, kind of go over some of the topics we're covering the next couple of Mondays. Happy Healthy Heart Month. For those of you that are new to our Health Aware program at Community Memorial Health Systems, I want to welcome you and start this series today with just a moment of gratitude for showing up, for caring enough about your heart to know enough and have knowledge and awareness of all the things that are important to keep you high functioning. Whether you are 15 years old or you're 105 years old, our topics are going to cover that range. So in getting started today, last week, if you haven't watched our previous series that we gave on heart health for the month of February and loving your heart, we talked about risks for heart attacks. How do we recognize them? How do we respond? And today we're giving a little extra attention to another kind of heavier topic on our hearts, which is hypertension. And it's heavy because it's stealthy, as I like to say. Oftentimes when we talk about hypertension in regards to our heart health, it's one of those things that is lurking, or it's kind of sneaky. I like to say that you are going along and cruising along in life, and all of a sudden hypertension, high blood pressure, sneaks up on you like a cobra. You may not have any symptoms whatsoever, and I think that's of utmost importance when we talk today about this. Is if you are feeling poorly, or if you have any type of symptom that your body is saying, hey, red flag, I don't feel well, always go get that checked out. If you don't have a primary care doctor, this is one of those topics where we talk about the importance of having a primary care doctor. Someone that sees you every so often to check your blood pressure, that's imperative. However, if you don't have that, I do want to start with saying I wrote it down here specifically. Let me get my glasses on. We're going to talk about age in this topic. Glasses and eyesight are one of them. If you don't have a physician, I want to highly recommend that you come and see our nurse practitioner, Andrea Ricketts. She offers blood pressure screenings every second and fourth Monday at Health Aware at Community Memorial Hospital here in Ventura. They are from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. You must have an appointment. Obviously, we are going to follow the medical model of following strict guidelines for COVID right now. You must call her first before you kind of walk in. The number is 805-667-2818. So if you're just watching this and you're curious about taking care of your health and you're wondering, hypertension, blood pressure, what am I running right now? Some of the newest guidelines are one of the things we worry about with hypertension is that you don't have symptoms. And you could be walking around and thinking you're perfectly fine, and you realize once you go to a physician or you see a nurse practitioner and you have the blood pressure check that you're actually running high. New guidelines for blood pressures. They're a little bit startling to a lot of us. What does that mean? Startling. Well, what used to be considered good normal blood pressure, 120/80, is not the guideline anymore, especially since about 2017. If you go back, and you can research this on your own, you can go to the American College of Cardiology, you can go to American Heart Association, American Red Cross, Mayo Clinic, Cleveland Clinic, some of our leading medical guides, and learn that you want your blood pressure less than 120/80. If you haven't been checking it, even as young as starting at the age of 20 now, we want that baseline normal range. Get it checked. Start kind of keeping a log. One of the best things I've learned in the past 30 years of cardiology and caring for our hearts is it doesn't mean that we're not going to have bad days where you walk in and you're kind of under a lot of stress with work, and maybe you're actually having pain, which will obviously make your blood pressure go up some, and maybe you're going through different situations. Hello, Super Bowl yesterday, the salt we all ate alone, water retention, what that causes into our arteries, into the pressure of our blood pressure. Could that actually be a range that we worry about? Absolutely. So you want to think about those things. So you want a consistent reading. That means checking in every so often. Now, if you want to do this on your own, what are some of the recommendations? Well, always get it checked professionally first. I'm not trying to kind of stick it to you in regards to getting into the doctor right now during these kind of challenging times with COVID, but you really do need to have it professionally checked. And you'll see automatic blood pressure cuffs. People say, oh, I went to CVS Pharmacy and I stuck my hand in the blood pressure cuff. Okay, I want it checked by a professional. I can't recommend that enough. And then check it every so often, meaning let's check it every 3 weeks. I love that rule of 3. Okay, 21 days to kind of see where we're at physically. Where are our habits? What are we doing that's going to affect our health? So 3 weeks is a great gauge. Every 3 days, check your blood pressure at home. Write it down. Keep it in a little, you'll see me, I'm standing here today with my little steno pad. Yeah, some of us still do that besides keeping everything electronic. We are organic and human beings. So when you think about those things, keeping about those guidelines, if you're consistently running, let's say 3 checks, 3 times in a row, consistently higher than 120 over 80, you want to go see a physician, right? So we can always guide you there in Health Aware. One of the things that we worry about in regards to hypertension and our heart health is just pressure, all right? So what is hypertension and what makes it so prevalent amongst our population? By the age of 50, greater than 50% of us have some level of arterial sclerosis or heart disease already happening within our body. You can think about, I love to use the visual of plumbing. If you can imagine over time, you've kind of got these beautiful pipes running nice and clean, just like water flows through a pipe. Over time, you start to get some buildup inside of that. You get a little bit of plaque, maybe high cholesterol, little inflammation of the inside of those arteries, right? Depending upon what the body's going through. But what is hypertension? Hypertension is a measurement of it being high if that pressure running through that pipe is high, right? So what are some of the risk factors that we look for hypertension? What are the reasons that cause us to have hypertension? So a lot of misinformation out there nowadays, especially if you're kind of going fly by night with different fitness experts or trainers out there. What is one of the number 1 risk factors? Age. Age. There's no way around it, right? What are things that are completely not controllable or changeable? Age is one of them. Gender is one of them. Ethnicity is one of them. Those are falling into that, what we say, 20% range when you start looking at risk factors that cause you to have certain diseases. Hypertension is very vulnerable to age, ethnicity, genetics. What are you made of? You cannot control that. The other 80%, we're going to get to that. That is about lifestyle modifications, things you can change. So I like to use rubber bands. I worked with a cardiologist years ago who taught at UCLA. He's brilliant, and he used this example when teaching to some of us nurses in the cardiology clinic at Ventura Cardiology. You want to think of your arteries like rubber bands. And over time, just like anything else out there, you can think about like even your car. You have this system working, and there's this constant pressure. And when we're young and healthy and everything's nice and elastic, things bend and they kind of move and groove very easily. But over time, especially with environmental issues, not taking care of like our health, getting enough exercise, diet, toxins we may be exposed to, it starts to narrow and you'll get down into these kind of more less elasticity places. So with hypertension, what are we measuring? We're measuring that pressure of blood flow into the elasticity of your arteries and your veins. So for most of us, we'll hear about that top number, systolic blood pressure, and diastolic blood pressure. One of the best ways I like to remember it is systolic is your body in action. We could get into a whole different class and whole different talk about what it means as far as what your heart's doing specifically in those moments. But systolic is that top number when you get a reading that tells you what is my body doing as it's pushing blood out to the rest of my body. What is the read on that? And we do that in, gosh, it's been years and years and years and years and years by reading it in mercury pressure. So you'll hear those terms 120 over 80, or you may hear 160 over 90. So that top number, the systolic, that's usually the action, the blood flow, what is the pressure reading as it goes through the artery. Diastolic, the bottom number, what is the bottom number? Bottom number is, what is it kind of basically the pressure reading at rest. And as we get older with just age alone, even at rest, like anything that gets wear and tear, it starts to lose some of that capability of bouncing back. So for most of us in dealing with our blood pressure, we're concerned about that kind of normal rating. We want it to kind of stay in that range of less than 120 over 80. But I really want to point out to you that once we do start aging, especially once the age of 50 and up, anyone that starts to go through hormonal changes of any type, whether you are female or male, you will start seeing changes in that elasticity. Could it cause you to actually have something where it burst, or you'll hear about an aneurysm, or it's so plugged up with high cholesterol and inflammation? Could there even be a clot? Yes, possibly. So that is why when we talk about the silent killer of hypertension, you keeping an eye on your blood pressure is extremely important. Now, talking about statistics, according to the American Heart Association, I'm going to go through my notes here, and American College of Cardiology, by the age of 20, let me say that again because it shocked me even, by the age of 20 in the United States, 48% of us have some type of arterial sclerosis. So the building up of that nice open artery gets a little sticky, salty, icky, yucky stuff in there. So you want to remember that by the age of 20, most of us already have a couple of strikes against us. What are other things that can actually cause you to have hypertension that are completely out of your control? Right? There's no changing it. Genetics, DNA. How are you wired? There's no changing that. This falls into kind of that 10 percentile that we talk about. It's out of your control. Age, gender, family history. And nowadays I do want to remind everyone about family history. There are some new guidelines. If you're one of those that you're kind of looking into ancestry and you've maybe become a part of some of the genetic studies going on, your family history is your immediate family. So immediate family members is going to increase your risk of any type of disease that there is if it's shared. So hypertension being one of them, meaning your mom, your dad, your sibling, and then we added back grandma, grandpa. So we've learned through genetics that symptoms and diseases can actually skip a generation and end up with you. The parents don't have it, your siblings don't have it, but your grandma and grandpa had it. So that's something you can't change. The other 80%, can you change it? Absolutely. Is it preventative in staying healthy and having longevity long term? For sure. What are the biggest risk factors for hypertension? For this class, I'm talking very specifically to the United States. You want to think about possible underlying health issues. So if you're in any way going through any type of other health situation, like cancer treatment, chronic kidney disease, you've already been diagnosed with type 1 or type 2 diabetes, it kind of puts you into a whole different risk factor range there. So that's reason enough to be watching your blood pressure. The other group of us should be watching our blood pressure for other risk factors that we could change. Are they controllable? Are they changeable? I know for myself right now, I'm going to be turning 50 in a couple of months. There's a big difference in me looking at myself at 25 and where I was taking care of my health versus where am I now 25 years later at 50. Are there some things that are going to be harder to control? Absolutely. So hormones, we want to talk about that. We are learning more and more, especially through genetic research. Can they affect hypertension? Can they make you a little more prone to run a higher blood pressure? Yes. So should you be thinking about things if you have never been screened and you're going to be turning 40, 50 years old? Do I want a baseline? Absolutely. So thinking about that, what are other risk factors that you can somewhat have a little bit of control over? The top, a lot of people list 8. I like to list about 10, especially in regards to years of experience of what we have seen in cardiology for our heart health. What is the most important thing we need to be doing? We need to be exercising and moving. You are wired to move. You're made to move. Not moving is actually one of your biggest risk factors to have hypertension. And you can think about it in a way of if your car were to sit in your driveway or in a parking lot for weeks on end or months on end, does it function correctly? No. So kind of sometimes visualizing and seeing things more relative to what they are in your own life will help you. Should you be moving? Absolutely, right? So circulation is everything for our body. It's getting blood out to every little extremity in our hands, to the extremities down into our feet. You will hear people say, oh, I have hypertension and I have peripheral vascular disease, meaning that pressure coming back from the peripheral, the far outside part of our body, it's compromised in some way. And that can often be from different diseases we have. You can't control it. You have type 1 diabetes. Could you control maybe that you have type 2? Could we reverse it? Absolutely, with these lifestyle modifications. So lifestyle is everything. You need to be moving at a minimum of about 25 to 30 minutes every single day. Can you scale it back if you say at a week's time, can I do 20 minutes a day to maintain decent health? Yeah, you can. So the science behind that is clear. You need to be breaking a sweat. You need to be moving 20 minutes a day. One of the best gauges I've ever heard from a physician that I was at one of my continuing ed classes, he said, you need to break a sweat minimum 20 minutes a day. You need to feel a little bit of beads of perspiration on your forehead. You need to have a quicker respiration rate. Your heart rate needs to come up. Your blood pressure starts to come up a little bit. Minimum just to maintain your health. We're not talking about weight loss. We're not talking about kind of conditioning the body. We're talking general maintenance, just to keep things running. 20 to 30 minutes every single day. 7 days a week, 20 minutes. I like to tell everybody, if you like to be that person, and I've learned over the years that you're driving your golf cart instead of carrying your bags and walking the course, that's activity. That's not exercise. It's not breaking a sweat. Get out there and move. It doesn't matter what it is. Go walk your dog. Go garden. Go clean your house from top to bottom. Top to bottom. I did that recently and I could not believe the level of exhaustion and exertion that was needed for that. So move your body. The other one, diet. So at Health Aware, I can't recommend enough that you actually see a registered dietitian. I am in no way, even after all these years in medicine, and especially most of us even dealing with physicians, we are not trained enough on the specialization about nutrition. I don't know what that term is. I keep trying to remember. Let thy food be thy medicine and medicine be through food. You need good food. You need plant-based food. You need things. I love my favorite saying about taking care of hypertension in your heart. You need food that is of the earth. Okay, you're a mammal eating these healthy nutrients. That means finding it specific to your unique needs. Okay, so see one of our registered dietitians, Melissa Davidson with Health Aware. She's leading multiple courses right now about plant-based foods. Again, foods of the earth, also heart-healthy foods, so check her out. The other one about hypertension. What are our risk factors that we could change? Is it controllable? Absolutely. Being overweight and obesity. So I like to get really personal. Any of you that have ever had my classes, I have struggled with being overweight my entire life. Can you change it? Yes, you can change it with calories in, calories out. There's no fanciness to it. You really need to think about it. Calories in, calories out, high quality calories. Again, whole food, food of the earth, calories out. Does that change with age? Can it change with your blood pressure? Absolutely. Your hormones change. Your body changes. There are cellular things taking place as you age. Do you need more help? Do you need a dietitian? Possibly. Do you need a personal trainer? Absolutely. So take care, do that for yourself. Other risk factors for hypertension. I love this one, smoking. And when I say I love it, because I like to say smoking is smoking. There's very few of us that smoke compared to 1965. However, sitting is the new smoking. So we go back to new guidelines. Where are we worried? We're worried about all the sitting. Are we all sitting during COVID up to 30 to 50% more than we were pre-COVID? Yes. Could that raise my blood pressure? Yes, because your body is working to move that blood through your system. Circulation issues are always a concern. Obviously, smoking, any type of abuse of any toxin in any situation, whether it be, you'll hear the term fragrances. You think about us here, especially in Ventura County, our exposure to smoke, right? That is becoming a big cardiovascular issue. Could it raise our blood pressure because our body's trying to clean that out constantly? Absolutely. I like to remind everybody, too much of anything, right? So too much of anything, too much sugar, too much fat, too much booze. Booze is a big one, right? Vasodilator, go back to that rubber band. Too much of it kind of stretching things out. Could it blow out and cause you to have a small stroke? Absolutely. Cause you to have a big stroke? Absolutely. So blood pressure is very important. High cholesterol, yes, you will hear this over and over again. There's different types of trans-ischemic attacks that we have. They are not all necessarily related to high blood pressure. They can be related to our high cholesterol. I'll try to keep it really simple. Over time, if you think about, go back to that rubber band and that flow of blood going through any artery or vein, and if it starts to get that plaque buildup and fatty buildup and inflammatory acids kind of all around that artery, over time, that blood flowing through, could it possibly cause you to have a piece even break off and have a clot? Yes. Could it cause you to almost imagine the blood's flowing through and it kind of bubble out or balloon out and have what we call an aneurysm, and then that actual lining of that artery opens up and we have a bleeding out type stroke? Yes. So the pressure of that hypertension rolling through things, very concerning. So trying to keep cholesterol controlled, weight controlled, moderating how much you are eating, drinking, exposure issues, right? What are you exposing yourself to? These bad, crummy air quality days, you need to be staying inside. The other big one that's come out in recent guidelines is sleep apnea. This is something you will need to have checked out professionally, but I do usually say, I had this conversation with my neighbor recently who's the healthiest mid-80s person I've ever met in my life. He says, I find myself, I wake up and I'm gasping for air. Never okay. Never okay. Shortness of breath, especially when you kind of let it clasp at your chest, never okay. So So get those things checked out. Sleep apnea, automatically the body kind of goes into this overdrive. It's going to go to protect itself. Blood pressure goes up. You need more help. The other one, stress. I like adding these two on, especially in integrative cardiology. You will hear more and more, which is becoming kind of our standing ground for all heart-related issues. How are you handling stress? You are made to fire up and go into stress, not that it's a bad thing, if a bear is chasing you down the street. If you're up here, we're hiking and trying to get information, or not information, trying to get out and about and get exercise, and a bear is chasing you, do you need your body to go into a stress response? That fight, flight, and I say freeze? Yeah, we don't want you freezing. Do you need all those stress hormones on board? Yes. Do you need your blood pressure and heart rate to kind of amp up and everything else blood flow-wise to the rest of your body kind of mellow out so that you're able in the muscles to perform and get away from the bear? Yes. Do you need to be doing that just because there's a deadline at work? Or because you're stuck in traffic? No. So this is where lifestyle modification becomes very important in understanding how to control your health. Do you need to learn better coping mechanisms? So you will hear the term often nowadays, psychosocial coping. So psychologically and socially, can you cope with the world and environment around you to possibly gain some control over what your nervous system is telling you to do? Yes. And there's all kinds of resources out there. What do we know are the 3 best things to help with this? Meditation literally changes the way our brain is wired to help the body understand what it's going through. Yoga, exercise, right? Mindful movement of any type. It doesn't have to specifically be yoga, but whereas yoga is such this kind of beautiful blend because it is the union and connection of moving the body and breath and controlling the breath, and the vagus nerve and nerve system is key to this. The last thing we want to talk about in regards to cholesterol, and I'm going to finish up here, is if you are concerned in any way about a fluctuating blood pressure. You'll hear the term white coat syndrome. Every time I go to the doctor, my blood pressure goes up. Okay, then we remove that variable. You track your blood pressure at home. You can go online, you can check consumer reports and see there are multiple different home versions of blood pressure readings. Maybe you just want to start logging it and tracking it for a while. Maybe that's where you start today. And as you see those numbers and they're all kind of running greater than 120 over 80, it's time to see someone. Love yourself enough, right? This month of heart health. Give your heart that capability of that action mode of that systolic blood pressure and the resting mode, or the diastolic pressure. Get it checked out. It's never ever going to hurt you to at least get a baseline and a normal. I want to give you that phone number again for scheduling an appointment to get your blood pressure checked with Andrea, our nurse practitioner. That number is 805-667-2818. Maybe you have some other underlying risk factors. She can certainly guide you in the direction for treatment and diagnostic screening for anything that may be going on. One of the things we want to remind everyone about is that even in this health crisis we've all lived through together with COVID, you're still functioning, you're still moving, you still have all these other body systems that need attention. So take a moment, try to schedule an appointment. I want to thank you so much for joining me today. We have 2 more sessions, 2 more Mondays of February. We're going to be talking some about stress and the effect of stress on your heart and on your body. It's going to be very important. Hopefully you can join us for that. And finally, our last Monday, we'll be talking about some of more of the integrative approaches and treatment options out there for treating issues that we have with our heart. I hope you stay healthy and safe. The light in me honors the light in you. And see you soon.